Hey developers, today we are going to create a modal using Tailwind CSS. I'm going to show you guys how to get started with using it with Vue. And yeah, we're just going to have fun and we're going to take a look at what it offers. So here's a quick example. If you click this open modal button, you can see the background darkens. We have this hyphen modal, this nice window here. We can click close or save and it disappears again. So real simple modal, but you can see this was really easy to create in Tailwind. So I want to show you guys how to do it. And yeah, so let's begin. Oh yeah, before we start, let's have a quick word from our sponsor. I just want to take a moment and thank our sponsor, .tech Domains. Now, if you're anything like me, you probably love domain names and you love to buy ones that are short and relevant, but also most importantly, available. And that's what's really cool about .tech Domains. There's a ton of really cool domains available. And the .tech domain is broad enough that you can kind of understand that this is technology related as well. A lot of really cool sites are using .tech domains like Hollywood.tech, Viacom.tech, even personal sites like AustinEvans.tech. So if you guys are interested and you want to search for a really cool domain name, go to go.tech/Erik and then search for your domain name. If you end up buying it, you actually get up to 80% off on 1 year and 5 year domains. So go to go.tech/Erik and go ahead and pick up that domain name. Thanks. Alrighty, so we are going to take a look at Tailwind CSS with Vue.js. And if you don't know what Tailwind CSS is, it's basically a CSS library that has all these utility functions that you can add to your classes. So instead of having to write them out in a separate file or inline them, you have all these really nice utility classes like MB, it stands for like margin bottom, and MX is for your x-axis. Or you can do padding. You can do a ton of things. There's basically everything you can do in CSS. They have these little utility functions. You just add them to any of your classes, and you can then work really quickly. And what I really like about it, it's really easy to quickly prototype things out. And yeah, it just works really well. I know some CSS purists don't like it that much because you're essentially writing all your CSS in your classes in your HTML, and it becomes pretty bloated after a while. But I think it's fine, especially for a lot of different projects. And also it has some criticism too, because you may not end up reusing. Nice thing about CSS is it's cascading and it's style sheets and it's great for reuse, and you can make classes that you can reuse in multiple places. You can do that in Tailwind. We're not going to look at that, but it's not as clear how you set that up at the beginning. And like I said, I think it's just great for prototyping. All right, so here's what we're going to create today. And here is my app. I already have it running, but to get started, let's take a look here. I already have a directory here. Make sure, obviously, you have Node installed, because if you don't have Node installed, you're going to be in trouble. But if you have Node installed, by the way, you can just go to Node, just Google Node.js, install it. Make sure you have Vue CLI installed. As of this recording, I'm using Vue CLI 4.3.1. If you don't know how to install that, do npm install tacg at vue/CLI, and that'll go ahead and install it for you. And then you just do Vue create, and we can call it whatever we want. It's called Tailwind test. And then it's going to ask you some questions, and you can either do default or manually. I just go through here, and I would just go through here and just select some defaults, like if you want Vuex or router, and if you want history mode, error prevention, lint on save, and then you hit here for dedicated config files, and it'll go ahead and install the app for you. So I'm not going to do that because I already did it. But after the app is installed, all you need to do is change directories to where the app is installed. And to add Tailwind, you just do Vue add Tailwind. And that's pretty much it. And it'll go ahead and install everything for you. It'll install the latest version, I believe, of this recording. It's 1.2. So it'll do everything for you. Don't get confused. There's actually a few Tailwind libraries. Basically, these are plugins for Vue.js. There's one called Tailwind CSS, which is an older one. If you install that, you will have problems because that is really old and not the latest version, and that hasn't been maintained. But if you do Vue add Tailwind, it works great. And it'll ask you during the installation, it'll ask you if you want to do, well, I'll show you here. If you do Vue add Tailwind, So still proceed, yes. It'll go ahead and install for you. And it's going to ask us a question how we want to do our configuration. It's going to ask us full, minimal, or none. Usually I like to do minimal. And I hit enter here. And do you want to replace it? You're going to say no. And it basically runs this generator, does everything for us. Now if we look at our code, I'm going to look right here. And we're going to our package.json. You can see it installed the plugin. And now we have in here, if I look for Tailwind, yep, it's 1.2.0. This is actually the latest version of Tailwind as well. This Tailwind plugin really corresponds to the version of Tailwind as well, which is perfect. And it also creates this file right here called Tailwind config.js. So this is where you can add your own colors. You can kind of add some variants and plugins and things like that. We're not going to look at this in this video, but there's some pretty good documentation if you go to the Tailwind site if you wanted to add in extra colors. It actually comes with quite a few. Also, during this video, we're going to look at this extension that I installed. It's called Tailwind Intellisense, or CSS Intellisense. This makes things really, really easy to, when you're inside VS Code, to actually pull up these utility classes, because unless you memorized them all, you're going to have to look them up. But you can see here, you can type BG red, and it kind of tells you what you can do there, which is really nice. Cool. Also, on one of my videos, someone asked, like they said this wasn't working for them, this Tailwind CSS Intelligence. Make sure to make it work, make sure you have the post-config.js, or excuse me, the Tailwind config.js file in the root folder. So if you put none during that installation, I noticed that sometimes the Intellisense doesn't know that you're in a Tailwind project and it doesn't work. So make sure you have that Tailwind config file there. At least an empty one like this. So that really helps. Okay. So I already created the modal here. But let's take it step by step. Let's take a look at how to create the button. And I'm going to just go ahead and comment this out. Okay, so I went ahead and deleted everything here, and I will start from scratch to show you how this works. So first, we want a way to toggle things off and on. So of course, we can create a new return model here. So basically, this is an empty Vue project. I just created it from the command line, and I just deleted everything out of the home.vue file. That way, we can kind of start from scratch. But I can do, I don't know, toggle modal and have it false. And then I want to create a button here, open modal. And just to get some of the Vue stuff out of the way, we're going to have a click handler on here, and it's going to actually open. It's going to take this toggle modal, and it's going to equal not toggle modal. So it should toggle that off and on. And if we look at it, toggle modal, let's see what it looks like. So obviously we don't have anything, no graphic. This hasn't been styled at all. But if we do it, you see true, false, true, false. So it's definitely working as we expected. Okay, cool. So now we actually want to kind of give this some look and feel, so it's not just this ugly box here. So we do class, and remember I have the Intellisense, so all of a sudden it's already telling me I can add stuff to it. So I want the text to be white, and I want it rounded. So I kind of want the button to look a little rounded, and I want the background color to be pink. And then I can also, what's nice about this is I can put different layers here. Like 100 is kind of a light pink, but 900 is a really dark pink. So I don't know, I'll do 500. So right away you can see, yeah, it's looking a little better. Maybe I'll do some padding. So I'll do padding on the x-axis, I don't know, 3, and then y, I don't know, 4. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, so it's looking a little bit better. Let's see here. If I put, let's do X a little bit more. You know what? I'm just gonna, instead of breaking it out between X and Y, I'm just gonna do padding. Let's do a 10. Okay, now it's made it really big. Let's do padding X. I don't know, 6. What does it look like that? Okay. and padding Y 4. Okay, that's really big. I kind of like that. I think I can put a different font. Maybe I want sans. And I believe I can do font semi-bold too. Okay, kind of like that a little better. I kind of want to add a little shadow, so I can add shadow. Oh, let's put a large shadow underneath it. Okay, you can't really see, but it has a little bit more shadow. Now, if you're wondering what it's doing here, I'm just going to click here, click on Open Modal. You can see here, it has my text white. Here's this box shadow added. Here's the left and right pixel, 6, it adds 1.5 rem, Y, 1 rem, font semi-bold. So you can see everything I added here had the border radius, so it's a little bit more, has a little bit more of a border, the color. So cool, it's like doing everything for us. We didn't have to type that all out. It's all in these utility classes. All right, so I think for a button, this is good. I guess I could be a little bit more fancy if I wanted to add in a hover effect. I guess I can make the pink, I don't know, let's see if I make it a little darker what it looks like. So now, okay, now that's a little too dark. Let's do 200. Let's see what it looks like if I go a little lighter. Let's do 400. Okay, yeah, that looks a little nicer. I also have this outline. I can try to get rid of the outline. I think it's outline none. Okay, but it still shows it when you click on it. So maybe on the active. So I just do active, outline none. I think that's it. Okay. Let's add it to the focus too. Outline none. Did I spell that right? Probably not. Let's see here. Okay, so there we go. So now I don't have any outline anymore on it. Obviously, this isn't great for accessibility. We probably want maybe some sort of outline, but just for this demo. You could also see it's kind of cool to add in hover effects, active effects, focus. All you have to do is just put focus. I can also, if I wanted to do different breakpoints, I can have small, medium, large. That's this SM, medium, large. So SM, I don't know. I could have like it do something on smaller screens. Obviously, in a button would make sense. Okay, let's see if we can click this button that the background darkens a little bit. Okay, let's see there. So I'm going to add in a new div. I'm going to only have it be there when toggle modal is true, basically. And now we can add some classes to it. So what we want to do is I can make it absolutely positioned. I can also make it, there's a few things I can do. Let's see here. Maybe I'll make it absolute positioned. And then I'll have Z. I'll make it on the Z axis 40. So we're going to have to do different Z axes here in a second. And then we're going to put in inset 0. And what this does, you see it puts top right 0, bottom 0, left 0, which is great. I'm going to put opacity 25. Oops, I don't want that. Let's see here. I want opacity of 25. And then I want to put the background color of, let's see here, black. Okay, so now we have a button here. And all it does is make the background darker. That's fine. But we actually kind of want to do something. We actually want to show something. So let's create another div here. And I'm going to do a vif. And it should only show up if this toggle modal is true, basically. But we want to add some classes to it. So we're going to make this, we did this one absolute before. We can do another absolute. But I kind of want to do fixed. It kind of depends. I'm going to try fixed here. And then I'm going to do some overflow. I'm going to do overflow X, auto, overflow Y, auto. Actually, I'm going to do overflow X hidden. So because if they're on the X axis, I don't want it to keep moving over. I just want it to cut off. Why? I want to actually, if you do auto, it could, if you have tons of content there, it'll add a scroll bar. That's fine. I'm going to do the inset 0 again, so it's kind of in the, it's Y000. Then, you know, I think that's going to be it. I'm going to kind of play around with this to see how I like it. And then I'm going to create another div tag. And then this one, I'm going to have the class equal relative. So it's going to be relative to the fixed div that's above it. And I kind of want, you know, actually also make sure everything in here is flex. And I'll justify center, and I'll do the item center too. And I guess I'll do relative here, and I want to sort of try to get it in the middle. So I'm going to do MX auto, I'm going to do a width auto, and I'm going to do the max. Let's see, I think it's called max width 2XL, which is 42 rem. And now I'm going to save this. And now I'm going to create, I don't know, a background here. I'm going to have it be white. So I guess I'll do, let's see, background white. And I'll have a width of, I don't know, 20. I'm going to put some lorem ipsum here to see if it even shows. All right, so here it is. It's not quite right. It looks like it's covering the full front here. But let's see here. If we go through here, I want to make sure this modal 2 is higher. So I'm going to put it on Z50. Okay, so now I got white text here. Looks like it's not, the width isn't enough. So I'm going to do width full here. Okay. All right, looks a little bit more like a modal. Cool. I can also, if I wanted to, add a close button. So let's see here. I got a bunch of text here. Let's just put a span here and put the lorem in here. And then underneath the span, I'm going to add a close button. So let's add a button here. Call it close. And, you know, I'll make the class, let's make it rounded, background, let's make it green. I think that makes it a little nicer. I'll have the text be white. I'll add some padding. I don't know. Let's add some margin too. Let's just mess around with this and see what it looks like. We'll make this 4. Okay. Okay, here's our big ugly close button. Let's see if we can at least get the close to do something. So I don't want that big, but I can add a click handler to it, and I'll just do toggle modal equals false. Let's see if that closes it. All right, yeah, so I'm closing it. Also, I kind of want this to be rounded, and I want a shadow on it too. Shadow, let's do 2XL. See what it looks like. And I can't really see too much, but I guess it's a little bit more rounded. Also, this button looks kind of weird because we're just all this text is kind of running together in this div block here. So I could make this flex, and then I don't know. Let's do. We want it more of a column, so I think that's. So this is where I'm trying to remember flex column. Okay, so now the close button's all the way at the bottom, full width. Well, maybe I can play around with that a little bit more. So could I make max width of this to be, I don't know, medium? Let's see what that looks like. Okay, so now it's still pretty big. I don't know, let's make it extra small. Let's see what it looks like there. So still quite big. I can also do, I think I can just do width here and make it 1/12. Okay, now it's really small. Let's do it 3/12. Okay. Now it's on the left-hand side. If you want to get, we could probably do a margin auto. Yeah, so now it's in the middle. And let's say I wanted to add in some padding. So I can even do MB for margin bottom. I don't know, add 10. Okay, it's way too much. 6. Okay. Now it's a little better. I don't know, 4, 3. Okay, yeah, that looks a little bit better. I know I don't love this text right here. I could go in and add like a header or something to the top right here. Header text. And then maybe wrap this all in another div or a flex to have this in here. So let's see here. If I want this to be like extra large text, I can do -2 XL. I think I could do font bold. I'll put hello from Modal. Okay, so I have hello from Modal. Once if I wanted, so yeah, this is all being flexed through and then centered here. But I definitely could go in and try to move this to the left. I can add some extra buttons, but I think for right now, that's all I'm going to do. So you can see here, just a really simple modal. I can definitely mess around with this, change the text size. Also, I could add a little X button like it did, but I think I'm going to leave it like this just to keep the video pretty short. You can see I was able to really quickly add in all these utility classes, create the modal. It doesn't look too bad. Obviously, it's just very simple. But, you know, it was really easy to do. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Leave a comment below. I appreciate it. Later.